Jane Fonda didn't come from struggle. She came from Polish. Marble floors, garden parties, famous last name. Yet inside that elegance was a chill. Her father, Henry Fonda, belonged as much to audiences as to his family. Admired everywhere, emotionally distant at home. Privilege gave her comfort. It did not give her ease. That contrast, abundance without warmth, became the first lesson she ever learned. Comfort can numb, but it does not heal. From that starting point, Jane made something formidable. Today, her net worth is more than $200 million. Along the way, she owned a 7,100 SQFT modern home in Beverly Hills that sold for nearly $13 million, a 2,000-acre New Mexico property valued at over $20 million, a Manhattan apartment worth more than $6 million, and years earlier, a Malibu oceanfront place that sold for $9 million. Her garages once held a vintage Cadillac, a Tesla Model S, a Porsche 911, and a Range Rover. Those numbers are real, but they're not the story. The story is what it cost to earn them. Jane grew up in rooms where everything looked perfect and little felt safe. Her mother, Frances, died when Jane was 12. The family spoke about it sparingly. The truth reached her the hard way, on the page of a magazine at school. The shock sealed a quiet belief that would trail her for years. If she were thin enough, still enough, perfect enough, maybe she'd be loved enough. With a father who measured more than he comforted, she learned to perform for approval and to turn hurt into control. That need for control later hardened into bulimia. It wasn't vanity. It was survival in an industry that measured women by angles and inches. Executives suggested surgical fixes, even jaw reshaping. She considered some changes, then learned to transform that obsessive discipline into something useful. Craft, business sense, and eventually power. Jane's breakthrough roles weren't shiny, they were flint. In 1969, They Shoot Horses, don't they? Revealed a performer willing to show exhaustion and despair without a filter. In 1971, Clute turned a role that could have been cliché into a portrait of a woman fighting to be seen. The film earned about $12.5 million on a $2.5 million budget and won her first Oscar. By 1978, Coming Home, made for roughly $3 million and grossing nearly $36 million, brought a second Oscar. It also showed what would become the pattern of her life: combine art with meaning, and accept the risk that comes with it. She didn't wait for permission. She co-founded a production company, chose material with a point of view, and in the early 1980s, built a fitness business that sold more than 16 million videos and tapes, shaping an entire industry and generating hundreds of millions of dollars. The same discipline that once hurt her became an engine that fed a family, funded activism, and created independence. In 1972, Jane traveled to North Vietnam. She went to witness, to listen, and to challenge a war she believed was wrong. A single photograph taken during that trip, one she has called the worst mistake of her life, turned her into a national lightning rod. The backlash was immediate and fierce. The learning curve was long and public. Jane apologized for the photo and spent years rebuilding trust. Coming Home in 1978 was part of that work, a story that honored veterans and their families. For some, it opened a door. For others, the scar stayed. She accepted that truth and kept moving, with humility and resolve. Roger Vadim, married 1965, Paris glamour and reinvention. He helped create the icon Barbarella, but the persona overwhelmed the person. Their daughter Vanessa arrived in 1968. By 1973, the marriage was over. She left with clarity. She would no longer live as someone else's invention. Tom Hayden, married 1973, love tied to a mission. They lived simply and poured energy, and millions, into causes and campaigns. Their son Troy was born in July 1973. Over time, their marriage felt more like a movement than a home. They divorced by 1990. Jane kept the house for Troy and kept a promise to herself. The next stage would include mercy for others and herself. Ted Turner, married 1991. Security at scale, the founder of CNN, vast ranches, a schedule as big as his vision. For a decade, there were private jets, 30,000-acre horizons, rooms full of leaders. She was 53 when they married and 2001 when they parted. The break was civil. She left with immense resources and a crucial realization. Comfort is not the same as peace. In 2010, at 72, she had a lumpectomy for breast cancer. 9 years later came a skin cancer diagnosis. In 2022, at 84, she announced non-Hodgkin lymphoma. She met each chapter directly, sharing the experience so others would feel less alone. Wealth eased logistics, not fear. The real currency was endurance, and the decision again and again to keep living fully. Motherhood was her most demanding role because it came without scripts. She has been honest about the years she missed. What healed the distance was not speeches, but presence. Apologies that were specific, listening that was patient, time that was consistent. Today, Vanessa Vadim makes films and fights for the environment. Troy Garrity acts and advocates. They carry her lessons forward, along with the grace found on the far side of tough conversations. Reconciliation with Henry Fonda came on the set. Yvonne Golden Pond in 1981, playing father and daughter, helped them speak the words they had avoided. He died 5 months later. The film won awards. The moment in private won her peace. Her former New Mexico property wasn't just land. It was reset. The historic Forked Lightning Ranch along the Pecos River once stretched over 13,000 acres, with the adobe river house built for refuge and writing. She also spent time in an Atlanta penthouse and a glass-walled Beverly Hills home valued near $13 million with a solar-heated pool and mountain light. Earlier, the Malibu oceanfront place that sold for $9 million marked a different season. Public, glamorous, loud. Today, life is quieter. One Los Angeles home, windows to hills and sky. An electric car, mornings that begin with stretching, reading, or gardening rather than call times. Fewer addresses, more routes. Since ending her relationship with Richard Perry in 2017, Jane has chosen singleness as freedom, not exile. "I don't have time for it," she joked, meaning she has time for what matters. Family dinners, handwritten notes, a cause that still needs her, and mornings that feel borrowed and blessed. At 87, the awards still line a shelf, Oscars, Emmys, Golden Globes, but the photos beside them matter more. Vanessa and Troy, grandkids, friends who've become family. She missed too much once. She refuses to miss what's left. The body carries its history. 3 cancers survived. Joints that remind her of a punishing work ethic. A face that now shows the years instead of hiding them. She calls that honesty a relief. "I'm not afraid of dying," she said. "I'm afraid of not living well before I do." Add it all up. The films, the fitness revolution, the protest lines, the apologies, the ranches, the glass houses, the court dates, the chemo, the family repair. The total isn't just wealth. It's wisdom, failure into fuel, guilt into grace, survival into purpose. If her journey says anything, it's this. Perfection is brittle. Persistence holds. Wealth is useful. Meaning lasts. And the most radical reinvention isn't changing your image. It's keeping your heart open long enough to become who you were always meant to be. So here's the question Jane asks herself. And you? What does living well mean to you? Success, stillness, redemption, or simply waking up one more morning with the courage to keep going?